Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel where I talk about myself and other things, and you know what the deal is, or maybe you don't. If you don't, hello, welcome. Today I'm going to be going through my anti-diet fat acceptance timeline, how I got in it, how I got out, where we are now. Maybe Dolce will hang out with us. She seems to be having a fun time. Nope. Okay, she's back on the couch. That was my dog, Dolce. She's my little sweetie, my first daughter. My dogged her. And yeah, all right, let's get into it. I don't have like a PowerPoint or anything because I'm so lazy, but I'll try to like edit this so that it looks nice and maybe there's things that pop up. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not an editor. I do data analytics. I work in higher education, okay? I don't know what I'm doing here. Maybe I should pay my sister to do my video editing because she does some really great video editing on TikTok, and maybe I'll just pay her to edit my videos so that I don't have to do that. That would be cool, right? We'll see. All right. So, if you know me, if you know anything about my story, you'll know that a couple months ago, back in the back half of 2025, I made a TikTok saying that I was leaving the anti-diet fat activism community, that I was going on a downsizing journey intentionally, and I talked about why I decided to leave, why it was no longer working for me, and that video did not get super big on TikTok or anything. Like, I did get, like a couple dozen followers and some likes and stuff like that, but it didn't like do numbers or anything. But I guess like the right people saw it because they sent it to Obese to Beast, and I think like Angelica Unfiltered. I don't know if it was sent to her or if she just saw, I don't know. But super cool that they both did a video on me. So maybe I'll post them in the links below. Angelica Unfiltered did a video for me. It was, or sorry, I'll put them both. I'll put the links to them down below. Both Angelica Unfiltered did a video about me, kind of like looking at this TikToks, and Obese to Beast did the same thing. If you are following me, you probably follow Angelica Unfiltered because most people like found me that way. But if for some reason you're not, go follow her. She's hilarious. And then Obese to Beast, of course, he's so kind, he's so cool. He does a lot of really great videos. They're both really great stories of weight loss success, and Angelica Unfiltered specifically is a great example of somebody leaving the fat acceptance community and really being an activist, speaking out against the harmful rhetoric and misinformation of that community. But let's get into it. So I was not originally in like fat liberation, fat activism. I originally was introduced more to like the anti-diet side. And I think that this is how a lot of it how it started for a lot of people. And in fact, I really think that a lot of harm has been done in looking at the anti-diet space, which really is a space for a lot of people in those spaces were thin women, especially thin white women, who were healing from their own eds, you know what I mean? And they created this movement. I don't actually know like the history of the anti-diet movement specifically. Maybe I'll do like a video on that. Maybe I'll do a deep dive. I know, of course, like my introduction to everything, but it really was separate and felt a lot different. Like what you see on TikTok now of like body liberation and fat activism, that was not the way that things were back, like almost 10 years ago, like 8 years ago. So I'll just kind of go through. I have my notes over here on this screen. So I'll go through and we'll just chat about things. And again, maybe I can put up little pictures or like things to make this more entertaining. But if not, you can just listen. And thank you if you are listening, if you are watching. Okay, so the year was 2018, and I was prepping for my wedding. I got married in December of 2018. I was working at a community college at the time, and the like director of the wellness center for that community college was really into this stuff. And so she brought in Christy Harrison to do like a work health webinar, and it was all about intuitive eating. And if you don't know Christy Harrison is a registered dietitian. She was or is the host of the podcast Food Psych. Wait, let's look her up. What is she doing? Is she still doing stuff? Let's see. Wow. Okay, yeah, she is still. Okay, yeah. So she is still doing her Food Psych podcast. And that podcast is all about helping people make peace with food since 2013. She's a registered dietitian nutritionist, a certified intuitive eating counselor, and she's a journalist. She has a master's of public health, and she has her RD and her CEDS. I don't know what that means. So she talks all about like making peace with food, healing from disordered eating, learning body acceptance, practicing intuitive eating, escaping harmful wellness culture, and more, all from a body positive, anti-diet perspective. I'm like reading this on my other screen. Maybe I'll like pop it up here. So her podcast is all about like it's all about food, really. I mean, it's called Food Psych. Again, like she's coming from the registered dietitian perspective as well as the ED perspective. And that is what I was introduced to first. This was very compelling to me because, again, it wasn't all this stuff about like being fat necessarily or gaining weight or this or that. It was all about like making peace with food. And I think that that is something that is still valid and something that I still think is useful in many contexts. I don't agree with the methodology that they prescribe to everybody, but I think that the idea behind it is a good idea. I think that we should make peace with food. I think that peace with food looks different for everybody, but I definitely get behind that. I think that, Graphically Alex talks a lot about the what he calls the toxic ritualistic, and how a lot of people in fat activism, or if not all of them, are basically engaged in the toxic ritualistic. And if you don't know what that means, you can go look on his posts about on his YouTube page and like what he talks about all of this. But basically it's kind of the it's not the restrictive E followed by the letter D. It's sort of like the opposite, or the one that is more cyclical in nature. It is one that I have struggled with for many years, and that I think a lot of fat activists struggle with, because that is the nature of how they are currently at the size that they're at. And so I was introduced to Christy Harrison, really compelled by it. Then that same year, the like wellness director did a book club about the book Body Kindness by Rebecca Scritchfield. I think she's still doing stuff too. She's like a counselor. So she does a lot of counseling related to food issues, body issues. And her book was all about, again, rather than seeing the food that you eat and the choices that you make as a way to like be overly reductive or punishing, instead of like, let's be kind to our bodies. And again, the general concept of that I think is a good thing. Like, I think that the way that the choices that you make and the goals that you set should be about being kind to yourself and doing things that are out of love and like appreciation and a desire for you to see growth and improved health, not necessarily like some of the other things. But again, it was kind of applied broadly to everybody. So that's kind of the background in 2018. And I started listening to anti-diet podcasts. So I was listening to Food Psych a lot. I was listening to Body Kindness a lot. And even some of the health podcasts that I used to listen to would like start to feature these people. And so then I was like, oh, they must have something really important to say if this person who I really like them are talking about it. Like that's pretty cool, right? So that was how I finished out 2018. I got married. When I got married, I was, I think, like 15 pounds heavier than I was at the end of 2016. I haven't gone through like my entire weight journey, body journey, but with you guys, but basically when I was in college, I did a pretty big health journey and I got down to around 140 pounds, which at 5 feet is still considered overweight, but I was extremely active and I looked really good. I felt really good. And that is kind of what I want to get back down to. Obviously, it would be cool if I was like BMI in the not in the normal weight category. I think I was calculating it this morning. I would need to get down to 100, I think 127 pounds to be normal weight. So 13 pounds less than 104. Like I could have like kept going probably in 2017, 2018 and like lost that weight and continued to like get stronger and fitter. But I was happy. I looked good and I liked myself. I loved what I saw in the mirror for the first time in almost my entire life. So that is my goal right now. But so when I got married, I was like 15 pounds heavier than that. And the weight just kept like climbing. Oh my God. So 2019, all aboard the Fatty Express. So 2019, I decided to go off of hormonal birth control because I was originally delusional and was like, let's just have a baby right away. So glad we didn't do that. But I mean, I definitely don't regret going off of hormonal birth control. I'm glad that I got off of it. But I went off of it and I gained 50 pounds in like 6 months. Again, I understand caloric realism exists. The reason why I gained 50 pounds was that I went off of hormonal birth control. I had undiagnosed PCOS and my hormones started going out of control and just making me feel way hungrier than I should have felt. On top of that, I also made really bad food choices. I was like eating myself out of house and home. I was like eating pizza multiple times a week. And the entire time, I felt justified because of all of the information that I was taking in during this time, right? So in March of 2019, I went to the Fuck It Diet book release party or like reading. The Fuck It Diet is a book by Caroline Dooner, and it is literally, the book is like, fuck it. Eat whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And it literally, the only way that you're going to make peace with food is if you just say fuck it, literally, and just eat whatever you want. And that's all you got to do, and you'll be fine. I think I'm gonna actually do a video on her because now she has gone like full right wing conspiracy theorist. Like, what's going on up there? I don't know. She like found Jesus and she like was super anti-vaxxer in 2020 and she like still I think stands by the principles in the Fuck It Diet, but she is like fully maha, so I think she's like super anti-seed oils and like has a very specific idea of the foods that she's supposed to be eating, which, girl, you do you. But I just think it's so fascinating because so much of the like influencers and people that are anti-diet or were anti-diet are very, very leftist. Like myself, I consider myself very leftist, very progressive, and seeing the change in her is just fascinating. And I don't think I've seen anybody talk about her on here, so maybe I'll make a video on her. But so I went to that like release party. She lived in a city that was near me, so it was easy to just like, oh, let's go, it'll be super fun and I'll get my book signed. And I don't think I have it anymore. I think I gave it away. But if I end up wanting to go through the book, I guess I'll have to rebuy it or put it on my Kindle so that we can go through and annotate it and talk about it. But so between that and like the Food Psych podcast and the Body Kindness podcast, I was taking in all of this information that was literally telling me, eat whatever you want, eat as much as you want, you have to do this. This is how you're going to get recovered from your disordered relationship with food. This is how you're going to heal yourself and heal your body. Oh, you've gained weight. It's okay. You're supposed to gain weight. You're not supposed to be that skinny. You're supposed to get big. And like your body is just going to get to the size that it wants to be, and you need to be okay with that. It really reminds me of the story of like the frog slowly boiling in a pot of water. Like you start out just wanting to, not constantly think about food all the time and wanting to have like a better relationship with food. Like, I think that everybody kind of has people in their lives who are naturally thin and just like they have a good relationship with food, or at least you think they do. And they're not struggling. They don't think about food the way that you think about food. Like, and you're just like, well, I want to be like that. How do I be like that? And I had all these people telling me, this is how you be like that. You eat pizza 4 times a week. You don't care about anything that you're eating. You eat whatever you want, whenever you want. You listen to every single craving you have. You stop going to the gym if you feel like that's punishing yourself. And you force yourself to eat food. And you force yourself to eat foods that you were like afraid of, or that you knew, even if you knew that like they didn't work well with your body, you were supposed to eat them, like unless they like physically made you ill. And you were supposed to gain weight. It was a good thing that you gained weight. Like, I literally remember when I went to the Caroline Dooner's book event, that she was wearing this like striped, like oversized pants and like two-piece combo. And she was like, I'm trying to make myself look as wide as possible for this. Like, it was just so weird. Because she is so thin, like she's very tiny and always has been. Which should have been a cue that like her perspective is not for me. But so that was kind of 2019. And at the end of 2019, we moved to Maryland. So we moved out of Pennsylvania. We moved to Maryland to open up a coffee shop. And by this point, I think I was like 190, almost 200 pounds. So I was like went from being 140 in 2016 to like 155, almost one, like around that in 2018. And then by the end of 2019, being almost 200 pounds. Insane. 2020. Uh-oh. Okay. In 2020, I was really entering my fat activism era. So, around this time, because of everything that was going on in the world, I was just feeling so much hopelessness about myself and my body. I obviously had a really bad relationship with my body and with like my life in general, because being a business owner was really hard. Starting that new job was really hard. So in 2020, everything was just really, really hard. The fat activism, like fat activist theory, fat liberation theory, became kind of like a safe place for me to be myself and not really be challenged by anything. I could just be like, yeah, I'm supposed to be like this. And if you disagree with me, you need to check your privilege, because I'm oppressed. So this was the time that I also started writing about anti-diet, fat liberation stuff on that page that I'd mentioned. I just started writing more about it, started trying like to convince like my mom, who was like a chronic dieter, and my dad, and like everybody was like buying books for people and evangelizing this. And especially on that Facebook page, my posts were not well received. People obviously were like, what are you talking about? Like they would be like, yeah, I agree that like we could have better relationships with food in our bodies, but you do need to eat healthy. That is important. And if you are not a normal weight, the reason why is probably because you were not eating healthy and you were eating too much. And I did not want to hear that. And I think that like that really made me double down, because then I could be like, oh my gosh, you guys, like they just don't get it. It's so sad. Like, why can't anybody understand the truth? Why can't people wake up to the truth about this, and like how it's connected to racism and sexism and all of these things? It's all connected. And it just made me feel more insulated and kind of like retreat more and more into this community of people being like, yeah, they just don't get it. Like they're just in the wrong. We can't convince everybody, blah, 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 blah. I was also like really active on Twitter. Again, I wasn't like huge on Twitter. I just had, I don't know, I only had like 1,000. Again, I've never been big or popular anywhere. I'm just a girl. But I would like make some really good connections with people, especially people who like did have bigger followings. So it was just cool to like connect with people and hang out. And I was still like, I still considered myself a progressive Christian at that time. And so that was kind of like the space that I was in, was like the progressive Christian space. On Twitter at the time, being a progressive kind of required that you be anti-diet and like pro-fat activism. Um, it was sort of like, yeah, like you would never talk about wanting to lose weight on Twitter, because like if you were in this space, because that's really taboo. That's a big no-no, because if you post about wanting to lose some weight and get healthy, you're obviously racist. So that was 2020. Then we get into 2021/2022. I'm kind of bunching these two together. This was like my fat yogi era. So at the end of 2021, I was like, or no. At the end of 2020, yeah, I in 2021 at some point, I started my yoga teacher training and I started posting a lot about yoga and fat activism. So like on my TikTok, I would post about this. I would like do yoga flows and stuff, like being fat. I think at the time I was like a little over 200 pounds. So my weight gain did slow down during this time a little bit. And I was like I was gonna like have a yoga page. It's called like For All Bodies Yoga. And that was like gonna be what I was gonna do. And I was all in. And around this time, TikTok and Instagram were the places to be as a fat activist. And I would say like TikTok still kind of is, although people are, I think, starting to like wake up. I see a lot of like health and fitness stuff on TikTok now. That's just my algorithm. And it was just the place to be. If you were posting about being fat, if you're posting about being in a fat body, if you're posting about, especially if you were like, you can be fat and anti-diet, and you also can be a yogi or a weightlifter or like really active. Like there was this big sort of push to be like, we are fat and we are also healthy and active. This would then like change, I think, into people really doubling down that like we don't owe you health, and like that was still a part of it. But I think that during this time, this was when I think like the body positivity campaigns were really big, and so it was this whole idea like we can do anything that thin people can do, and like no, we fucking couldn't. But whatever. And you just could not escape the anti-weight loss vibes. Like even during this time when I was still struggling with my body and stuff and just feeling like, okay, I believe in fat liberation for the world, but I'm really, really struggling being this body size, and like I don't like my body, but I can't lose weight. I can't want to lose weight. And so that was just kind of how these years went. Then around this time, we like closed down our coffee shop. We moved back to Pennsylvania, and I went back to work at the community college that I worked at back before. I'd gotten like a couple promotions, and so we were working there, and I was still like fully remote basically. And 2023, pregnant girl summer. So at the beginning of 2023, I got pregnant. I think I've said this before, at 218 pounds. So like in 2021, 2022, I did steadily gain weight to the point where at the beginning of 2023, I remember like weighing myself before I got pregnant, and I was like 218 pounds. And that is how I started off my pregnancy. And I had my fat pregnancy. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. I remember like really, really, obviously, I was so uncomfortable and I hated it, but I was still kind of delusional. Like I just chalked it up to being like, oh, I guess I could have exercised a little bit more in my pregnancy, or like, oh, I was just struggling so much, feeling nauseous, and and that's why, it didn't have anything to do with me apparently and my choices. It just was what it was. Ridiculous. And yeah, do not recommend. I literally like a big part of my weight loss journey. I mean, I would be on this health journey regardless of if I wanted to have another child, but I am like, I cannot have another pregnancy like that. I cannot get to the weight that I got. No, never again. And I was diagnosed with PCOS in 2023 officially, which is super exciting. I kind of knew that I had it, but because of all of my traveling and like moving back and forth and changing of health insurances constantly, I hadn't been able to get like an official diagnosis. I did get one officially, which was super helpful to me, just to know that I was correct. And I, besides just being a big girl, I had a pretty healthy pregnancy. I didn't have any blood sugar issues. I did not have gestational diabetes, which I was super smug about. Super, super smug. Like, I even remember a loved one of mine had been diagnosed with prediabetes and they were thin. And I was like, I am so much better than you because I'm fat, but I don't have gestational diabetes. Like, just so so ugly and like ridiculous and hurtful. Like, big like Tess Holiday energy, mean girl energy. In that moment, I was so smug, which really just showed my own fear and my own feelings about my body that I like didn't want to say out loud. Near the end of this year, as I kept getting bigger and things got really, really difficult being pregnant, I started questioning some of these beliefs and I was really struggling, but I was also so tired. Pregnancy is exhausting. So I wasn't really at the point where I could investigate or like unlearn anything. I just kind of had to like put it on the back burner because being pregnant and becoming a mom was that was what was at the forefront of my mind. 2024. Mommy? Mommy? All right. So 2024. Can you believe it? That was like 2 years ago. Oh my God. My first year postpartum. By this time, I definitely was like, I want to lose weight because after, like, when it was all said and done, the day before I gave birth or something like that, I was at right around 260 pounds. And then like 20 pounds of that was just baby and amniotic fluid and the placenta, right? So after I gave birth and all of that, I think maybe like a week after I gave birth or so, I weighed like 240 pounds. So, and throughout that year, I just naturally lost like 10 pounds. So I knew that I wanted to lose weight, but I was still like firmly pro fat activism and anti diet culture. Like, I was like, diet culture is bad, fat liberation is good for the world. Like, I believe in all these tenets, but like, oh, for me, I just want to lose weight and like, I'm gonna do that quietly. And that was my 2024. But I really only lost like 9 or 10 pounds. And I wasn't like seriously going after anything because, again, it was just like I still had all of these ties to this community telling me that wanting to better myself was toxic and evil. And that if I did that for myself, I was somehow like contributing to global oppression of society or something ridiculous. So I finished out 2024. And then in 2025, that's my goodbye. Goodbye, fat activism. Bye bye. I finally started testing the long held beliefs and the rhetoric from the fat liberation, fat activism community. I learned so much from Sam at Every Size and Megan Ann, and they really helped me unlearn all of these talking points and beliefs that I had just kind of like kept without question. And near the end of the year, I had decided to really get serious about my fitness journey, my health journey, and I made a TikTok letting folks know that I was leaving. And so that if for some reason they were still following me on TikTok and they were doing so because of those beliefs, that they can unfollow and leave. I am fortunate enough that I got some really cool people to make some videos, like I mentioned earlier. And so in 2025, it was like probably some of the most success in a year that I've had in my life generally, but especially with like my body. So we bought a house. My family bought a house. We moved to a new state. I lost 18 pounds. I got a new job that I'm starting this week, and I am feeling better than ever. My only regret is that I didn't do this sooner. And so now we're in 2026. Girl, loading. We're working on it. We got big girl goals. And I'm just using this platform to continue to talk about my experiences. So that is kind of my timeline. I realized that I didn't talk at all about like Aubrey Gordon or maintenance phase. That obviously was also a big podcast that I listened to and books that I read. Um, Again, I might like talk, maybe I'll make another video just talking about like the actual resources and things that I was consuming, and maybe we can go back and debunk them. But that is my journey, my timeline. And now I'm here with all of you. And I am really happy and excited to see where things go. So, thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have an amazing day. Talk to you soon. Bye.